Goodbye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Misadventureland Games Show. I'm Bobby, and I'm here with Justin.
Hello there.
Well,
Alejandro
with the gifted sub. Thank you very much. I can't hear them for whatever reason. I don't know if you guys can hear them on the stream. You should be able to hear them, but for some reason, I can't hear them. Can't hear them. What the fuck? Well, I'm sorry that you can't hear them. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we're here. It's video game time, Justin. It's video game o'clock over here.
My favorite time.
It's your favorite time. I will say that I don't know what happens, but you sit down in your chair before we start this, and I get your thing lined up, and then when we start, you go from like the way I am right now, Justin can actually see the feed right now, to like, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin. And I don't know what happens.
Relaxed.
I don't know what happens in like the 4 minutes. In the 4 minutes when we do this and we start and we go. But I'm gonna have to shift.
It's literally the first time I've sat down in 9 hours.
I'm just gonna make you bigger. I know. I get it. I get you.
I
man.
love to be bigger.
Bigger. I moved something else. I don't know what the fuck I just moved, but it wasn't you. There we go.
Just so you all are aware, I don't know why, but on the Twitch stream, it really fucks up my camera. Because I'm looking at the actual feed between me and Bobby, and yeah, granted, my camera is not as good as Bobby's, but it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as it does on this stream.
Sure it doesn't. Justin. You keep telling everybody that. Okay.
I'm keeping this opinion.
You're keeping
Hello,
it.
Mark.
Hello, Mark. Doesn't matter. I can't compete because I have to keep my camera looking nice because you're so much more handsome than me, so I have to like keep my camera as nice as possible.
We balance each other out.
Oh, thanks, Justin. What a nice thing to say.
I was just going. Yeah, you started it. I was just going with it.
Yeah, but that's the point. You're like, oh no, Bobby, what are you talking about? Wow, exactly, Alejandro. Wow.
You know you're handsome.
Wow.
We balance each other out in all things. You're better at some things.
Fucking
I'm better at
savage,
others.
Justin. That's what everyone agrees. Savage. Peach called me her bitch the other day in Mark's chat, and she didn't even go this far. So,
I mean, to be fair, you antagonize Peach constantly. So
I do. This is very true. I'm not saying I don't antagonize Peach constantly. I do need some cream for that burn. Yes, I do. Would you
like me to finish a story of how I was getting my son out of a tree?
Yes. In one moment, we're gonna go right to that. I'm gonna tell people at home, if you're listening on your podcast apps, and you're wondering who we're talking to, we do these live. We broadcast these things live at 8 p.m. Eastern over at Misadventureland on twitch.tv/Misadventureland. So come check that out if you get a chance. Yes, we're about to. So I'll put a little context. I'm like getting stuff ready to go live. I'm like typing in self promos and discords. And Justin goes, Jorah was stuck in a tree. And I was like, what? Yeah, I'll save it. If you want, I'll save it for the podcast. So the podcast has begun. What happened, Justin?
So it's dinner time. It's like 7:30 ish, and I'm like sitting down to scarf down some delicious steak. And I ask Angela, I'm like, where's Jorah? And she goes, oh, he's in the backyard. So I go back there, and I notice that he's eyeing up this tree. And I'm like, it's time to come inside. He's like, can I stay out here for 5 more minutes? I'm like, okay. So I go and I sit back down. I'm like, 5 minutes and then come inside. So he never listens to anything I say ever. So I'm eating my steak. I finish it, and I'm like, I think I've been hearing something, and I'm like calling for him, but like he's not answering, and I'm like, I guess I should go outside. And I walk out the back door, and he's like 15 feet off the ground in this tree.
Oh God!
He's like, I've been calling for you. I'm stuck.
Oh God!
He's like, it's like, all right, I'll get you down. He's like, I started to cry. I'm like, it's okay. We'll get you out of this tree.
Oh man, Jorah.
He's a boy.
You came over to my house last past weekend for
That's
a
right,
party.
we hung out in person.
It was 7,000 degrees outside.
It was beautiful.
It was a nice day. It was very hot. Your wife has some sort of strange desire to stand in blistering hot sun for as long as humanly possible. I was talking to her by the
She's like
pool
that.
for a while, and I was like, Ange, I'm enjoying our conversation, but I need to move because I'm literally baking out here. But yeah, your kids had fun. You got to swim in the pool and stuff.
Well, I mean, skipping over the facts, Ange and I usually trade off on kids duty.
Oh,
So
God.
we'll like tag in, tag out. Because Jorah's self-sufficient at this
Yeah.
point. I don't really have to keep an eye on him. Every
Yeah.
now and then I poke my head up and be like, where is he? Is he running over young children? No, good. Okay.
Right.
So Ange and I had tagged out and she was on Finn. And I was sitting there talking with Bobby. And I hear her, as other people now walk into the backyard, I hear like a very distant, Justin! And now I run over to where I think she is, and Finn is fully clothed in the middle of your pool.
Yes, that's what happened.
So yeah, Finn opened up the pool for everybody by diving off your filter
Yes.
into the pool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was that.
He kept trying to like get into the like through the gate up onto the pool, and you guys kept catching him, and then that happened.
Yeah, and then later on, we tag in, we tag out again, and Bobby and I are sitting in a tent, and I look over at Angela, who's on the deck having a conversation with your neighbor, and Finn is literally tight-roping across the edge of the pool, where I now have to go into flash mode to run and push him into the water. So he doesn't fall over. It was fantastic. It was a good time. We had a great time.
It was a good time. It was a very good time. The party went on much longer, and it rained very, very hard at one point. So everybody came inside. And there was like 12 small children there. And so they all just like ran around the house screaming, basically. At one point they went back into our playroom and had a dance party with the door closed, and no adult was allowed to walk in. So yeah, it was funny. It was a good time though. It was a good time. It was fun. And then we had food. We had the leftover food from the party for the next 4 days. So including
usually how it goes.
Also, it was my Father's Day dinner. It was the leftovers from the party. So yeah. But it was a good time. So Justin, we're here to talk about the hot video games of the day. That's what we do on this show.
I love hot video games.
We talk about the new, the best, the greatest. We're here to talk about, the game that's burning up the charts that is just everyone's talking about, and that's Battlefield 5?
Question mark?
Battlefield 5? We've been playing a lot of Battlefield 5.
We really have been playing a lot of Battlefield 5. Which is not the Battlefield game that's getting the most attention right now.
No, that'd be 4.
That would be Battlefield 4.
Yes.
Yeah. So Bobby and I have my Series X now. Cody has a Series X. I think it's a Series X. Or did he get an S? Or did they get an S?
Cody got a Series X. Great, Cody. Cody's in chat. I believe they got a Series X.
So we were very excited about Battlefield 2042, and
yes,
we've been feeling like a little bit burnt out on Apex, and it's like, let's play a multiplayer shooter.
Yes.
And so we tried Battlefield 3. We couldn't even get into a game.
No.
We tried Battlefield 4 on console.
Yeah.
And we found games there, no problem.
Yeah.
The only problem with that game is it's running at a very nice frame rate, but the textures are so muddled, it's almost impossible to tell what is what.
Yeah. Plus, it doesn't if you play on PC, like both that issue and the shooting model, I'd say, or whatever, those aren't issues, but the game also feels a little bit older.
It's
in the way that the shooting feels with a controller, I would say.
Battlefield 4 is so popular on PC right now, with people doing the exact same thing that we're doing, just trying to get a little bit of that Battlefield taste. That they've increased server capacity on PC, which is just crazy for a game that's 6-7 years old.
That game came out in 2012, 2013.
Yeah,
the game was out before the PS4 was out.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
That's something.
2014, maybe 2013. I don't know. I either came out the same year as the PS3, PS4, but just a little bit earlier. Because I remember it was like destroying like the Xbox 360 and the PS3 when like with all its like levelation shit. Like it was like crashing constantly. Like it was very unstable game. And then and so yeah, and then the new console came out and fixed some of it. But yeah, so we tried playing that. And then we're like, no, so we thought we were playing Battlefield 5, and it's been a good ass time playing Battlefield 5.
We've got Cody with us every night. We pulled Andy, as he says, out of retirement.
Yeah, Andy came out of retirement,
and there's like it is I hope everybody gets to experience this. And when you have a core group of friends that you play with nightly, there are things that you just take for granted that you forget about. And like one of the things that I had taken for granted is just forgetting how absolutely hysterical Andy is in these games.
Yes, Andy's hilarious.
And just getting in there and playing that game again. And like I don't like the World War II setting, but just the dumb bullshit that you could get up to in those games is ridiculous. Like, you're trying to take a point and there's artillery being called in. There's 35 people around you where there's smoke and there's people being rezzed and grenades and artillery and tanks and all these things happening. And it's like, oh, that's a battlefield moment. And you know what? It's like, it's kind of what their tagline is, but it really is. Like, that's what that game is super good at. Max,
thank you for the tier 1 sub, gifting it to Cody. Tier 12 sub gifted. Sorry about the alerts not working, everybody.
It feels like it feels like a really good time, and we were playing nightly, and I just honestly wish Battlefield was sooner.
Yeah, me too. And I'm sure there'll be a period where like we get to the point with this game where we're like, okay, we're kind of done with this game, and we'll break from it and just wait for Battlefield 2042 to come out. But yeah, and like the other aspect of that moment, right? You're talking about the Battlefield moment, which you described very well, is that the artillery starts coming down, the tanks are there, and there's planes flying over, and then the artillery comes down and it destroys an entire half of a building that you were running next to, and there's buildings falling down around you, and all that kind of stuff. And there's smoke grenades going off, or it's raining, or there's fog rolling in. And I remember that one map we were playing, we were kind of running through like the streets or whatever, running from one point to another, like towards the other point, and it was just like I didn't even care if I was doing well or not. It was just the full pure like experience of being in it was like I this is unbelievable. Like no other game can do this. No other game has done it right, and we've seen Call of Duty in the past couple of years try to do these bigger team battles. Like in Warzone, they did those. What was that? I don't know what that mode was called. Where it was like the bigger scale maps, and they had like tanks and stuff on the maps. I can't remember what they called that mode.
I can't remember either. Sorry.
What Modern Warfare was doing. Anyway, and it just it was meant to sort of like evoke that feeling, but it just felt like Call of Duty with more people, and this is 64 people. When Battlefield 2042 comes out, it's gonna be 128 people on the map.
Crazy.
And it's just a totally different feeling. I mean, we've been playing pretty well in it as well. I wouldn't say that we're not. It's not just we're just kind of like they're just for the lulz or whatever, but it's been like secondary to just the experience of playing the game. And sometimes you're walking through the streets of a French town, and a building explodes next to you, and you get scared, and then you just hear Andy laughing because he shot an anti-aircraft gun at the building you were standing next to knock it down. So that kind of thing.
Andy was rezzing me yesterday, and a church bell landed on top of him and killed him, which then stopped my res. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So we've been playing that a lot. I mean, and like as you mentioned, Justin, a lot of this has come from the fact that you just got an Xbox Series X. We haven't played a multiplayer game on PlayStation since you got the Xbox Series X.
Nope.
No. I've turned my PlayStation on only to play Ratchet and Clank. It's the only reason I've turned it on in the last.
It's basically what we're doing, but it's like kind of resurrected our little group
It has, yeah.
of friends playing every night. If
Yeah.
only we can get Mark away from Valorant. If
Yeah.
only.
Andy's playing on. Andy's got to step up his Xbox game though. Playing on that old shit.
Have to, yeah. And you really see how long it takes for people to load in and out.
Yes, it does.
We've also been playing. I'll say I mean, we played a couple of hours together of some Master Chief Collection multiplayer.
Yes.
And then I played some more on my own.
Yeah.
And still great. Halo's. I don't know if you know this. Halo's fucking great.
All the new hotness.
All the new hotness.
Mm-hmm.
All the new hotness. So we've been playing that. We did a little bit of that their Deep Rock Galactic on console, which was nice.
We introduced Andy to Deep Rock Galactic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
I
mean, we extol the virtues of Game Pass.
Yes.
So much.
All the games we've talked about so far are on Game Pass.
All on Game Pass.
Yeah.
We also played that demo of Splitgate, which I think is a game that we could talk about.
Oh yeah. So when during the post E3 stuff, they put up a bunch of demos for games that were either shown there or were just kind of like part of a promotion. And one of those demos was this game called Splitgate, which promotes itself as Halo meets Portal. And it's a pretty accurate description of the game. It's a shooter in which you can create portals just like in the game. I think it's literally an orange and a blue portal that connect together, and on certain surfaces, and you can transport between the two. It has like similar weapons and similar feel to Halo. I mean, obviously it's modern, so it's faster and you can sprint and stuff like that. But the main takeaway was that Justin and I fucking wrecked at it.
We were look, it's hard to find a game that Bobby and I are both exceptional at the same time. And we were like, look, I had played one match and I was like, oh, you should, because he loves Portal. I was like, you should take a look at this. And we had just finished playing Battlefield 5. It's 11:30. I'm like, I'll play 1 or 2 rounds. And then we ended up playing for like an hour on the last night. Yeah. And we were consistently at the top of the leaderboards. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
The chat is upset right now because the game has some questionable toxicity going on with it.
There's a challenge that if you have to teabag 5 people, it's just complete a challenge in it.
Bye, Megs. So yeah, I instantly did that, but we had a good ass time, and that game's coming out end of July. It's going to be free to play, so I'll definitely check out more of it.
Yeah, it was cool. The aim assist, I will say, on console was a little ridiculous.
It has to be ridiculous. There's a clip that I put up on Twitter, where it is a shoddy snipers literally ripped right out of Halo. Yeah, and on this map, and I had just this ridiculous, I'll say 3 kills in 10 seconds, where I'm no scoping and just sweeping the scope left and right and just banging people's heads off, and it's like none of this is humanly possible.
No, we're not those kind of shooter players.
No, I'm not that. Look, I'm good at shooters. Yeah. I'm not that good.
Yeah.
I immediately that happened and I screamed and was like, how do I save this? And then I could not wait to show Bobby the clip, so I actually watched it and sent him a video of it on my phone as I was recording my TV.
How I've seen all clips of Justin's gameplay ever is just silent videos, because he has his headphones on, of him doing stuff in video games off his television. Listen, you kind of get desensitized to teabagging when you play shooters with Mark and or Cody at a certain point, because they drop those bags for sure when they're feeling salty. They'll drop those bags. Mm-hmm. Good night, Cody. Thank you for stopping by. So that was fun for sure. And then so that was new game. The other new game that we played was Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance.
Also on Game Pass.
Also on Game Pass, which is a 4-player, co-op action RPG. Let's just say. and it is playing off of the popularity and I think nostalgia for the Dark Alliance games that were on PS2, which were sort of Diablo style action RPGs. This is less Diablo. It's more just directly behind the back action game that happens to be 4 players. And I was looking forward to it. In the lead up to it, I like these kind of games where we actually played out. You mentioned Deep Rock Galactic, and there's another game we played too that we'll talk about that was on Game Pass that is in game preview. But this game, we have a group of people, like Justin said. It's nice to get something that's co-op, not necessarily nothing that's PvP all the time. And I will say that it is disappointing.
I mean, you want to talk about? Okay, I needed to check something.
Like the reviews have been, I think, scathing. I think they've been a little hyperbolic. The game is not good. Don't get me wrong. The game, and again, a lot of these people have played the game. They played the game for its entire duration, which then I can understand being done with it and being like, I'm gonna go. Like, this game is terrible. Like, I can't believe it's a waste of 15 hours or whatever much time it takes. Yeah, it was not a good time. What were we gonna say, Justin? Sorry.
Well, first I was, we were talking about the Dark Alliance name, and I was like, is Dark Alliance the game that I used to play on GameCube? But it wasn't. That was Gauntlet Dark Legacy.
Okay, but they're similar games. Those are very similar games.
Very similar games.
Yeah.
But I was trying to remember if it was the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy says it in chat right now perfectly. Like, it makes Game Pass worth it because, look, I saw the reviews and I posted it to our group and I was like, this thing is getting ripped apart. And Andy said, free is free. And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
So it was like, look, if this thing's going to be a train wreck, let's just get in there and take a look at it. And so we did for, we played for maybe like an hour and 45 minutes, something like that.
We played 2 missions. We played 2 full missions. I don't know how long it was exactly. We played 2 full missions.
I'll say this about the game. It feels bad.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
It looks bad.
Yeah.
It has serious connection issues because at the end of both of those missions, it completely disbanded our party and put us back at the main menu.
Yeah.
There was a glitch where I was going down an elevator, but it shot me up like I was on a trampoline.
Yeah.
I got stuck on a lever where I could not move, and we had to actually rest at a camp to get me out of there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that was just into and we beat up what was it? A ballista? What do they call those things?
Oh, ballista.
A ballista.
Yeah.
We beat up a ballista and got over 1,000 hit combo on it.
Yeah, we got an achievement because it just, even though the thing was already broken, because that was one of like the objectives of the mission, it still let us hit it forever, and we got an unending combo. We could have taken it to 10,000 if we wanted to stand there and keep hitting it. Yeah, like it was just, it's just blah. And I think Alejandro asked, even though it's bad, is the bad patchable to make it okay fun co-op? I mean, I'll say the glitches and stuff and like the performance issues weren't the thing about it that made it unenjoyable. Like, for the most part, the glitches and stuff were just like funny, like Justin getting stuck on a lever, not funny. If we couldn't have rested, that would have sucked and we would have had to restart or something like that. But like the weird elevator glitches and stuff like that, that's just like whatever. We were laughing about it when it was happening, but it's just a very they're very blah. The missions are, the 2 missions we did were basically identical. It was just go into these caverns, fight through a bunch of enemies who have no like discernible differences between them, except some of them have shields, some of them spit poison, but they have no personality to them. And then you fight some bigger enemies, none of which were difficult. None of which were, we beat a boss. We beat the boss of the first level before I think it even got a chance to even swing at us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of difficulty options in it, but you can't do difficulty options until you do the one before it. So it's like you start on normal and then you can stick it up to hard and harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. And that might make the challenge more, but that's not gonna make the game better. Like, it's not the kind of game where it's like, oh, if it was just more challenging, it would be more fun. And Andy says
it,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In chat, like it feels like a chore to play. Like I was playing a ranger character, and they put stamina on the ranger, so like I can only do so many attacks before I have to rest.
Yeah.
But like none of it felt good.
Yeah.
And so like asking if they patch out all the stuff that's wrong with it, would it still be a fun co-op experience? Like, I mean, it depends, right? Like, I could have fun with my friends playing almost anything because we'll just say like, this game is awful, and we'll laugh at it. But if you're looking for a game to like invest your time in, I would say you could invest it in anything else other than this. Because why would you play this game over anything else that you could?
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't feel like it's a worthwhile thing. Like, sure, a lot of these games can be repetitive. They can have like the same types of mission structures, but is the act of playing the game fun?
Yeah.
Do you want to get in there and be like, yeah, this is really easy, but let's crank the difficulty up to the max because I'm at least enjoying the moment-to-moment gameplay.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's not here. That's not there at all. So you can have the most repetitive missions, but look, if I'm enjoying shooting arrows in your game and my archer character or ranger character is fun and I'm seeing like, oh, awesome, I can unlock this next new move by leveling up 2 more times, then sure, I'll go kill 1,000 orcs because that's what you want me to do.
Yeah.
But when I'm basically seeing everything the game has to offer kind of right off the bat, other than minimal stat increases here and there, and it doesn't feel good, and it's glitchy, it's not worth it.
No, it's not. And that's the thing too, is that I was playing the barbarian character, so I have the opposite type of character Justin was playing, and it just, none of the swings felt like I feel like I was swinging through molasses when I was swinging, and the ultimate ability it was fun enough, like you just spun around with like a fire axe, but there was nothing that it was doing that was any better or even close to as good as other games of its type. And I will say too, I think the reason why you would say, why would I play this game is because there are many Dungeons and Dragons fans out there, right, that want to play a game that uses that IP, and there's not a lot of games that do that, right? We have Baldur's Gate coming, and there's Neverwinter, the MMO, but other than that, what is there to play, right? It's not like Warhammer where there's 7,000 games you can play. So I understand people who love Dungeons and Dragons sort of being like, oh, good, a game finally that I can play that's like this. And it's not a 100-hour RPG like a Divinity, which is obviously not Dungeons and Dragons, but basically is Dungeons and Dragons. And we were playing with Cody, and they're not here anymore, but they're playing Cody, and like at the beginning when like Dungeons and Dragons type stuff would come up, they'd be like, oh, I think I like this game. And we were like, Cody, it's just like they're just putting a label on something on a level up screen, and they're calling it a tally screen. Like they're not doing anything that's Dungeons and Dragons like or whatever, So like I think if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan who's really thirsty for something that's Dungeons and Dragons, this is not going to do it for you, because it just doesn't have, like, it has names and stuff like that, but it doesn't have stuff that's going to excite you as a Dungeons and Dragons player. It doesn't have the depth that you're looking for in that, because you're choosing pre-made characters, and you don't really have a way to like really change them that much. It's not like you can make them your own. They are who they are. Sorry, excuse me. We mentioned Deep Rock Galactic before, and that game is great. It's much more involved than Dark Alliance, and it has other things about it. It's more of like a shooter than you're not doing like hand-to-hand combat, but that game is way more worth your time, also on Game Pass, than playing Dark Alliance. We played even a game that I think is like buggy and sort of janky, like that Second Extinction game that we played a couple times, me, you, and Andy.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that game, I got more enjoyment out of playing Second Extinction, even though it is a less polished experience than Dark Alliance. I got way more enjoyment out of playing that than I did out of playing Dark Alliance.
You think it's less polished than
Dark Alliance? I mean, there's some crazy shit. Justin, let me share the video with you of your character like turning into giant beams of light around me.
That was like a one-time glitch thing. That
It
didn't
happened to Andy the next time too. Like I'm just saying, like there's glitches in it, and like the shooting doesn't always feel like amazing, and like there's a lot of samey dinosaurs that are chasing you around. The objectives are very samey. It's not like it's like a wonderful game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Andy in chat. Second Extinction was way better.
It was a way better game to play, though. Is what I'm saying. It's a way more fun game to play. But this is like the low bar, right? That I'm saying that Dark Alliance has is that
Dark Alliance feels like a very late PS2 game.
Yeah,
like that's what it feels like to play.
Yeah.
Like games feel better than this now.
Yeah.
Like they figured this stuff out, and that, like, to me, that's its biggest misgiving is just it feels so bad to play.
Yeah, and I also say, like, if you want, like, just play Diablo. If you want like the sort of like dungeon crawling like vibe to it, or try out like the Vermintide games or whatever. There are a lot of other games, and there are a lot of other games coming too that can fill this space, for you. And I'm sure there's games I'm not even thinking about that are out there that are like 4-player like fantasy co-op games. But again, Vermintide is another one. It's on Game Pass, so try that out. I mean, try it out. It's still time to try it out. It's on Game Pass if you have Game Pass, but it is not worth $40. If you do not have Game Pass either on PC or Xbox, do not spend $40 on this game. Do not spend that money, because it is not worth it. It is not worth it.
Let's talk about Second Extinction for a second, because we just like briefly brought it up.
Yeah.
So Second Extinction is in early access. It is basically an open world Left 4 Dead-ish, maybe kind of game.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely if you've played any of those games, we are a group of people. We are 4 people, possibly, who have different classes, who are fighting through hordes of enemies to complete objectives. The
enemies are dinosaurs.
Enemies are dinosaurs. They're not zombies in this case. They're dinosaurs.
Some of the dinosaurs are T-Rexes, and that's cool.
Yes.
And there are a couple different classes, and you'll land at a level, and it'll be like, go do these things, and then evac. Yeah. And there'll be secondary objectives that you could go do or choose not to do, and then you got to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we played this for a couple hours. Missions usually take about a half hour.
Yeah.
And we were playing on just like regular difficulty, and I thought the shooting felt pretty okay. I actually really liked the pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really got eaten. Like that's the thing is, like, I think the difficulty we were playing on wasn't difficult enough because
you didn't really have control over it, though. It was like the zone that you landed in was how difficult it could be, and zones were locked to you depending on how much you'd played the game. So it was like you had to like play a little bit to get there.
But it's still in like their early access program, and they're making changes to it. Like, because it's on Game Pass. Like, yeah, sure, I'll download this, and we spent a couple hours with it, and we enjoyed it. And
played a couple nights of it. Like we had a good time for sure.
I'll definitely go back to it. The more they add to it, I enjoyed the experience that much. But that was one of those games I think they announced not last E3, but maybe the one before that at the Microsoft conference.
I think it was last summer at like the
unveiling.
One of those unveiling things. It was an unveiling, or it was something last summer or whatever that they talked about it. Because it was definitely during the pandemic where they talked about it. Because I remember being like, "Oh, this could be a fun thing for us to play if we get into the beta or whatever." There's also just there's also a lot of games. I mean, a lot of them have zombies in them, so you're thinking, well, very good how you care about that, but like. World War Z is on Game Pass. Zombie Army 4 is on Game Pass. Like, these games are all going to give you more than playing Dark Alliance. So that's
I mean, you could download for free. Was the full title of this thing? Super Animal Royale.
Oh god, we played that. That was not. I don't know if it was. I can't even say it was good or bad. We were terrible. We were so terrible at it.
Oh, we were so terrible. Like an isometric. I wouldn't even say isometric. It was kind of like a 2D plane, but imagine the plane could just go up or down. And left or right. Mm-hmm. But it's not like you had like a 3/4 view down of the battlefield. And no,
it's like 2D. It was like Legend of Zelda. It was like the original Legend of Zelda is what it was like.
And there was a role, and they're like, it's a battle royale, so there's
Yeah.
guns, but you're animals, and
Yeah.
you're shooting at other people. But it was fucking hard.
People are flipping around and shooting. And I was like, what is this?
I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
No, I can't do this. Uninstall this game. Uninstall this game. I think last week we talked a little bit about Tunic, and Tunic seems cool. It's dark. It's like a Zelda Dark Souls thing. Very hard game, but I will play it when it comes out.
Hard but adorable.
Also on Game Pass.
I stopped playing it immediately because I was, I saw what it was, and I was like, I don't want to see any more of this because it's going to come out, I think, sometime this summer. So yeah, that game was
it's
pretty
soon.
cool.
It's pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, it's been good. We've been playing a lot of Xbox stuff. It's been fun for sure. It's just nice to be like, oh, what do you guys want to play? I don't know. Why don't you just download these 3 games and we'll pick one to play, or why don't you, or we're playing Battlefield tonight, but download this stuff, and then maybe tomorrow when we get together we'll play something else. And it's like nobody, it's not. There's no like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on this game because it's just all there,
Yeah.
And we haven't gone back. Mark mentioned Sea of Thieves before in chat. We haven't even gone back to that, but I'd like to see what that like Jack Sparrow thingy is at some point.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it running on the Series X too, because I haven't played it on the Series X yet. It should look very nice on that thing. So it's been a lot of fun. We bought headsets explicitly for Xbox. Again, haven't used that headset on the PlayStation yet at all.
I have.
It works?
It works.
Okay.
So yeah, Bobby and I were looking. The problem is this lovely headset that I'm wearing right now.
Jesus.
Sounds terrific.
Yeah.
Sounds absolutely fantastic. But for some reason, when I'm in a party talking with friends, they could always hear themselves.
Yeah, the echo is terrible. I don't know what it is.
I don't know why. I've tried 1,000 things. We couldn't fix it. And I was like, okay, well, I don't feel like buying a new headset, so they'll just have to deal with it, or I'll lower the volume so that way I could barely hear, but they won't be able to hear themselves.
Yeah.
And we got the Series X, and this headset not compatible with the Series X.
Yeah. Or Xbox at all. You just have to plug it into the controller with like that one special cable, but yeah, it just was not wirelessly.
So Bobby and me were doing a little research, and we found what was it? One of the Steel Series ones.
7X.
The 7X, and I was like, this thing looks like it's compatible with both PlayStation and Xbox wirelessly. And Bobby's like, nope, it can't be. Absolutely not.
Yeah, because it wasn't when I looked for. I'm wearing Steel Series right here. I now own 2 pairs of Steel Series headphones, which is ridiculous. But like these ones I'm wearing right now, which I got like before the new consoles came out. None of their headsets were compatible with both because of the USB system. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not the only ones that do that. Astro doesn't have
nothing was
either.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this pair of headsets, that's the 7X, and I'm like, it says it's compatible with both. And Bobby's like, I'm gonna find out, because if it is, I'm buying it as well. And we both put orders in on Amazon because he found out, yes, it is. And they were back ordered. I was like, all right, well, I'll just wait or whatever. I'll steal Jorah's headset for right now. And then like 2 days later, Bobby messages that they're like, the Walmart like 10 minutes from our house, our houses have it in stock. So we placed orders, and then we went and we picked them up, and they're comfortable. They work well.
Yeah. And what's cool on the Xbox is that the chat mixer works on the headphones. Because on mine, that only works on the PC, like the chat wheel or whatever. It doesn't work on the PS4, PS5. They were $150, right? 150? Yeah, 150. 150 grand. Because I was gonna Xbox had just put out their own headset or whatever, and it was like $100. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy that because like I have these, I like them, they work well for the, they work really well for the PlayStation. I don't need to buy. I don't need to. I would rather have wireless headphones for the Xbox. So I was all set to buy that one, and then I was like, for $50 more, I might as well just get these ones that work on both, and then these can stay on my PC. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, they're nice headphones. I mean, I love them. I love the way the cups feel on them. They're super comfortable. My ears never hurt when I'm wearing them. And they cover your ears completely, which is the reason why there's no audio like leakage out of them, really, because it doesn't let any audio out. They're great headphones. Mark has like the big boy version.
Fancy.
Has like the actual like mixer, like our Astros used to have or whatever.
I miss those Astros.
Those are great. Those are great. Those are a great headset. That lasted
Maybe next time around.
Lasted me basically all the way through the PS3 Xbox generation. And through the PS4, but they're great. They were great. And then the last game, the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Justin.
Yeah.
I played a few hours of this video game.
I have also played a few hours of this video game,
including with my son today. We played a little bit together.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Jorah wants to play, but he hasn't gotten into it yet. He's back playing Mario Rabbids again for reasons.
It was a little too complicated, like for both my nephew and my son. Like they could do a little bit, like they could run and jump around and stuff like that, but like they don't really know how to shoot a gun in 3D space. So whenever enemies would show up, they would just kind of give the controller back to me to do it.
I'm telling you that step comes quickly.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're playing Minecraft Dungeons to how did you just kill me in Fortnite? It comes fast, so get ready for it.
I'm sure. But I mean, Jorah's a few years older.
Yeah, he's definitely. Years
older. So I'm expecting it in a few years for sure. But yeah, it's fun, man. I don't know. It's like, Justin, is there a child next to you?
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Someone heard their name?
Good night, bud. Yes. They just barged in here, and I was like, nope, off camera. This is not a Discord VC. You can't just wander in here with your underwear
on. It's a lot of fun so far. Justin, what is your like history with the Ratchet games?
My history is I played. The first time I ever laid hands on a Ratchet game was at PAX East during their anytime during the day at PAX East, you could just walk up into one of those rooms upstairs at the Boston Convention Center and be like, "Here's my license. I want to try this video game."
Yeah, yep.
Me and a couple of friends started playing Ratchet, the 4-player one. I forget what that one was.
Oh, so it had the number 4 in it. It was like,
was it Nuts and Bolts or was
no,
it...
no, I don't think so. Nuts and Bolts. Nuts and Bolts is a Banjo-Kazooie game, my friend. All for one. There we go. Thank you, Grin.
Thank you, Grim. We played that for like an hour, and then we just we returned it, and then the next time I played a Ratchet and Clank game was the remake of 1 that came out. Was it 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
And I played through all of that game, and I thought that was good time.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I've ever played.
Yeah. I didn't play like any of the original, like the PS2 games. I played chunks of the first Ratchet on PS3. Kraken Time? That's the name of one of the PS3 games. I think it's Kraken Time. Right? The Future series that came out. And I always kind of liked them, but the 2016, I think it was 2016 or 2017 remake was the first time I really like played 1 to completion, and I enjoyed it. And I'm really enjoying this one. I think it's interesting because like it looks amazing, right? It plays great. All of like the effects and the animations and everything is just top notch. But it's still, I mean, and this is not like a insult against it or a knock against it. It plays like a Ratchet and Clank game. Like if it had come out in the year after, not looks wise, but everything else after that remake came out, I would believe you. You know what I mean? Like for the way it plays. If you said this was a remake of an old Ratchet game, I would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like yeah. You know. Again, it's not a knock against it. It's just like I think that the game is rightfully getting a lot of praise and people are loving it. But I want people to know if they're like, oh, I never really liked a Ratchet game before. Like this is a Ratchet and Clank game. Like it's not like it's it's not a major departure for the series, you know. I'll say that, but it is a ton of fun. And it's got a ton of personality to it, which is probably my favorite stuff about it, is like the amount of personality it's gotten, like all its ins and outs, you know, from like the way like the little like robots were like you know, speeding or like walking around the city you're in, you know, to like the group of little, like, I don't know what they are, they look like sort of like foxes who do like the mining for like the colony or whatever, like, you know, being like who they are, like all that stuff is really really good. I think I've gotten, so I've done like the big opening, and I beat like the first two bosses, I guess I would say, and I did like the first Clank like puzzle thing.
So I'm probably like 2 hours ahead of you.
Okay.
I'm slow playing this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to talk about the way a video game looks on an audio only podcast, unless, you know, you're watching us here on Twitch, but we don't have the gameplay up.
No.
But this thing looks, man, it looks good.
Yeah,
it's only on
great.
PS5, and because this thing could not run the way that it wants to on a PS4.
No. There's so much stuff happening on screen at once. It's crazy.
Like you take that wrench and you crack open some of these boxes, and they splinter into thousands. It looks like thousands of pieces.
Yeah.
And the level of fidelity and detail in that world, like, you know, they make the comparisons all the time, right? Especially about this game, of like, oh, you know, it looks like you're playing a Pixar movie, but it transitions from cutscene to gameplay almost seamlessly.
Yeah, you know, it's very impressive.
The attention, like, you look at Ratchet, and you, like, even during, you know, standard gameplay, you can see the fur on him.
Yeah.
Like, it is noticeable.
Yeah.
It's not just like an orange looking Lombax. Like, you could see details of the fur.
Yeah.
And the way that the way that the guns handle, like in Ratchet and Clank, I mean, it's Insomniac. Insomniac is known for making bonkers weapons. And
yes.
that, you know, that pedigree comes mostly from Ratchet and Clank, which they then expanded to other types of games.
Like all their other games that have guns in them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, your resistances, your fuses, or whatever. Like, they all have like silly weapons. But the weapons in this game are just, you know, they're just ridiculous. They have this one gun, you know, it's called the ricochet gun. And so what it does is you shoot this bullet, and the bullet hits your target, and then the bullet rises up above the target's head. And it will kind of play like a ping pong system, where if you hit RT in the right sequence, just by listening, it'll bounce back and forth off this guy's head. And the more perfect bounces you get, the higher the damage does. Yeah. Like just silly looking weapons where you put down a sprinkler, and it turns, you know, your enemies into kind of like, you know, into grass.
I just got that weapon.
They kind of get, they get stuck in place, and then you could just walk up and wail on them. I have the full weapon wheel unlocked right now, plus some, and I switch from weapon to weapon all the time. Like, I don't think there's a single bad one, and I know that there's still more to unlock. And then you upgrade the weapons, and then you know, the weapons themselves, the more that you use them, will rank up on their own, and they'll get to level 5. And if you get to level 5, which is the max rank, the guns actually change what their properties are, which is like a neat thing. But again, getting back to the way the game looks, it just looks so good, and it's charming. The characters have great interplay. You know, Ratchet and Clank is a long running series, but it kind of spins it on its head a little bit in this series. Without giving too much away, you know, you walk into the game, and they're talking about things that have happened in games past, and it's like, all right, well, I don't know any of that because I really haven't played the series. But then they kind of like throw it where it's like different characters are interacting with your normal characters, and like Ratchet and Clank are, at least where I'm at in the game right now, they're separated. So there's new interplays happening with those characters, and like new characters are coming in, and you feel like you're not missing out on anything, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fascinating because there's been so many Ratchet and Clank games, so many. I mean, PS4 is like the one system where the series kind of took a little bit of a break, because I think there was only the remake that came out. That was like a mainline Ratchet game, and that was also in the time where, because that time period was when Insomniac kind of broke and stopped working with Sony in an exclusive manner like they've been working before. I'll say too, great map. It's got a good map for like if you're looking for collectibles. It makes it very easy to be like, here's what you're missing, like, and even here's where it is, kind of like,
Yeah.
you know.
I
And
mean, games that show you like, look, we're putting collectibles out there, and if you want to get them, here they are.
Yeah.
Or like, this is where some of them are, and you'll have to like kind of hunt for the others, but we'll tell you how many there are in a level. And then if you want to change the collectibles to whatever, this game's accessibility options are like out of control.
Yeah.
They have so many. But if you want to change the collectibles into the cans of soda
yeah,
from Sunset Overdrive, you could do that. And I thought that was like a neat little touch.
Yeah. And Mello saying in the chat, at times there were 20 plus enemies coming at you, and there were weapons that unleashed so much chaos that I was just sitting there in awe. And yeah, that's true. I mean, there are a ton of enemies on screen, and there's a ton of particles, and you switch from those guns like just like this. So like, you know, I'm throwing out like those Mr. Fungi dudes who are then themselves shooting, you know, in a world that has like dinosaurs running around and like shooting their own like spit or whatever at the enemies that are fighting me and stuff like that. It's a visual showpiece. What mode are you playing it on, Justin?
I am playing it on the standard. So I think it's just
quality.
You know,
I think it's quality. I think or fidelity, whichever one it is. The one that runs with all the bells and whistles on, and it runs at 30 frames a second.
Yeah, so it's running at 30 frames a second, which is, for me, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's got ray tracing, it's got 4K visuals, and it like, you know, it's a single player game. So if it's playing at 30 frames a second, it's not going to bother me. I want to see all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. I'm playing on performance RT mode, which keeps all the ray tracing and stuff on, but it down reses it to, it's like at 1440p, and then up reses it to 4K. And I was like, I just want to see what the different modes look like. I mean, you can definitely tell the difference right when you're on like the regular performance mode. But when I flipped it between performance RT and visual mode or whatever, I couldn't really tell the difference. And then I made the mistake of just like running around a little bit in the performance RT mode at the 60 frames a second, and then switch it back to 30. And like, if I just stayed on 30, I would have been totally fine. But once I switched to one and went back to the other, I was like, I can't do it.
I can't do it.
I can't do it.
I get that.
It's like, you know, it's why when I was playing Miles Morales, I didn't switch it to the other mode like until I finished the story. And then I was like, so I put it all with, you know, full like bells and whistles. And then as I finished the story, I was like, okay, now that I'm just running around the world doing all other stuff, let me just flip it over to performance mode. And it was like, holy shit. Like I know. It was crazy, like the difference. And Insomniac's been very, very good about this stuff, right? About these modes and kind of, you know, capturing the power of the system and giving you options and how to run the games. And they've been the best about that so far. I think that like, I think it's fascinating what they're doing, because I think it's good to have these like, you know, just whole cloth presets to flip back and forth between, for people who don't want to deal with the, you know, the ins and outs of it. But for me, like, I would really love to see like if what's the difference in like all like the sliders of the game between performance RT mode and quality mode, you know, like I want to see like what I'm missing, because it just says like, you know, and some scene density will be reduced. So it says, like, it's very vague about what it is. And so part of me is like, I just really want to know like what exactly is the difference between these two modes. But I'm a very edge case in that. I think what they're doing is fine, but it's going to get interesting as they go farther and farther along, because like, where are we in like 2 years? Like, is there still going to be a performance mode like on a lot of these games at that point? Or is it all just going to be like, we're pushing the system as hard as we can to get like the basic visuals of this thing, you know, like there's no more like grades of thing, you know?
I don't think the options are going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think some games will be like, look, we pushed the system as far as it can go, and this is what it is. But I think most games will give you an option. of
I mean, I guess there's always the option
what you wanna
between
play at.
1080p and 4K, so like they can always
Yeah.
flip between those two things at the very least. So that will definitely give them a boost. I just don't know if we're judging by the way that console game performance has gone over the other generations. Like, what happens when we get to the point where we were like a couple years ago with the PS4, when like, you know, with like, it was like, oh, God of War is like really hard to play on a regular PS4. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like, you know, you really need a PS4 Pro to take advantage of some of these like newer games. When does that become a thing? You know, like when is the game not hitting 4K 30 anymore consistently? You know what I mean? Like, okay, it's in 4K and it's not hitting 30 anymore consistently because it's just like some studio is like, we're gonna go balls to the wall with like all the shit we're gonna do. You know what I mean? Like, what is that? What does that thing look like when everyone gets used to this thing, right? Everyone's used to the fact that like, oh, I can flip it in here and it like runs great, or I can flip it up here and it looks great, you know? But we'll see.
Eventually.
Yeah. I just don't know. I'm just,
they're going to have to make the switch.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Does that mean we're going to get a PS5 Pro or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that means at this point. Or does the hard drive and the architecture mitigate that? And are they planning ahead for that? Are they telling developers like, look, if you're going to develop the system, it needs to have these options. And if you're going to hit 4K, like you got to run it at this frame rate. Like, I just don't know if they'd go that far or not with it. And they don't have like the, you know, like Microsoft has like their like cloud infrastructure that they use on games like Flight Simulator, which help push like these like really enhanced visuals, but take the load off of the system itself. And I just don't know. Sony doesn't have that sort of like infrastructure, so they're going to start hitting a hardware wall at some point. So we'll have to see whenever that happens. But it's one of the things too where, you know, and we say this all the time, but like I look at Ratchet and I'm like, I don't need it to look better than this. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, I'm like, do I need it to look better than this game?
I don't think it's more about making it look better, but just being able to do more with what is actually happening there. Like these rift portals that you're pulling through, it's like this crazy thing where like normally you would like you would assume that your character would go through a portal and you would just end up somewhere else, right? But what's happening is like when you see a rift portal, you are pulling wherever the rift portal is, the entire world to you. Yeah. You're not going to the portal. The portal's coming to you.
Yeah.
And then you are showing up where the portal was.
Yeah.
So like that type of stuff is the stuff that I like the hardware is going to need to keep increasing for. Like, you know, let's like Cyberpunk just got released again on PlayStation, on the PlayStation, right? Mm-hmm. The digital version. Yeah. And they literally come out in the description and say they don't recommend playing this on a PlayStation 4. No. It's best on a Pro or a PlayStation 5. And even then, basically all crowds and vehicles are gone. Yeah. So like if you want to keep up with what that game is doing on the PC, where you're going to have density of crowds and stuff like that, like the hardware will keep having to get better. I'm not even asking for more graphics. There's a scene in Ratchet where you kind of like, it's very early in the game where you're in a different dimension now, and you come out and you enter this like kind of like middle of the city area, and there are vehicles flying in the sky. There are NPCs on the ground. There are a lot of NPCs on the ground in this game. Yes, there are. Like you enter a dance club and there are people everywhere. And I think that like that's the type of the stuff that I want to see. It's like it's almost like, remember like back when Dead Rising was just like, yo, look how many zombies we have on the screen. That's the type of stuff that's going to keep getting my attention. Is not so much like how many Ks are you pushing, but what can you do inside of those Ks?
What do you got inside your Ks, game?
What do you got?
I would say the most balanced mode in the PS5 is the performance. If you want the performance RT mode, is what is like you get kind of like the middle ground between the two worlds, which is like a 60 frames per second frame rate, but you get to keep like ray tracing and some other stuff on instead of being at 30 or being a 1080 60. You get the most solid possible like frame rate, and it never dips at all, like even in cutscenes or anything like that. But you know, performance RT, I say, would be the way to go. yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we have no idea what Naughty Dog is doing, right? For the first time in a very long time, like, it's not going to be another Last of Us game yet, right? I mean, they're not going to do that right after the last of Us game. I don't think it's going to be an Uncharted game, right?
Oh,
So
new IP from Naughty Dog.
So new IP, which is what I've wanted from them since, I don't know, the PS4 premiered, you know? And so, like, what's that going to look like, you know? And when they do what they're going to do, that's when you're really going to see. They will show you what is the system is most capable of doing. That's what they will be the ones to come out and be like, you thought that looked good? Well, it looks like shit now compared to this. You know, like that's what they do with PlayStation systems. So we'll see what that's going to be. But Ratchet's great, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a very comforting game to play. It's just like a very, you know, laid back. You can just sit there and play it, and it's good. It's a lot of fun.
I will say it was probably the best $200-something million Sony maybe has ever spent.
What, buying Insomniac?
Buying them back
buying
up.
Insomniac?
Yeah, buying them back up. Because, I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the last show. Like, their rise right now is meteoric. Like, they are shooting up the ranks. And, like, look, I felt this way after, I think it was after Spider-Man or Miles Morales, like, that Insomniac was, like, one of the, like, the big studios. Like, oh, like, an Insomniac game comes out? Like, I was taking notice, but I think everybody's going to take notice. Like, they just put out a listing today for like job openings for a multiplayer.
Yeah.
And is like, okay, is this an add-on for something? Is this a new Resistance maybe? Or what did you say? Or it was, you said Overstrike, but wasn't Overstrike
Fuse?
Didn't Overstrike turn into Fuse?
Yes. Yeah. That was the joke.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure.
When it changed from the game it was supposed to be to the game that like whoever published that game forced it to be.
Yeah.
I know you love that game.
Fuse was probably not the direction they should have went, but that game played well and had some really cool weapons.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that first teaser they showed where it looked like?
I never saw the teaser for Overstrike.
It's so good.
I never saw it. So, like, I never felt sad when they're like, oh, we actually turned it into like a military shooter.
Yeah.
Because even in the dumb military shooter, they managed to create weapons where it was just like, oh, the longer I shoot this weapon, a portal will open and a beam will come out from the portal and just start ripping apart enemies. Like, oh, that was really cool. And they're like, weird co-op points-based challenge thing was actually like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it was fun.
It was not great,
but the original trailer was so good, and it was like, and then when they were like, no, but this is what it looks like now. It was just the thing they were doing to every game back then, which is like, how can we make it look more like Gears of War? You know, that was like that was the thing they were doing to every game back then, and so it was just like, oh, this is a bummer. Now it's just like people make whatever game the fuck they want, so like it doesn't, you know, it's hard to even think about it now. But then it was like, no, all games have to look like this. You know, now when the games look like that, now when that Final Fantasy Origins demo comes out, people make fun of it because of the way it looks. But that was like every game then. So yeah, I mean, you know, Grun, I don't think Spider-Man 2 co-op is what they wouldn't hire for a multiplayer game for a co-op thing. I think it's something with competitive multiplayer, or at least large scale multiplayer.
Trust me, you look. Would I love to have Spider-Man 2 being co-op?
Yeah.
Sure, but my dream for the next Spider-Man game is it's Grand Theft Auto, but Spider-Man, where I could switch between Miles and Peter at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like outside of a mission, it's like I would just let me go see what Miles is up to, and then you flip, and then Miles is, you know, giving back a purse to a lady or swinging through the city, and now I'm just Miles, and like I could choose to do missions as either one of them.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Insomniac go back to doing like honestly a multiplayer shooter, because you know why? They make really cool weapons, and those really cool weapons are a lot of fun in multiplayer games. Those Resistance games were good.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it had the pedigree that it does now. Like it, you know, it would definitely get noticed more.
People like the co-op in that second game a lot.
Yeah.
I really did not like super jive with the Resistance series until the third one. I thought the third one was great. Like
Third one was pretty good.
The story of the third one, I should say.
I mean, it's hard when you kill off the main character.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so that's what we've been playing. We've been playing a bunch of stuff. It's been good. Just quickly, I've been playing the Outer Worlds as well. Yes, Outer Worlds. I've been playing it. I got past the first planet, and I'm on the space station now, and I'm enjoying it. I've really just replayed everything I'd already played, basically, except for like the choice on that planet. So, but I'll check in more. I'm definitely gonna keep going with it. I've been having a good time playing it.
I bought this week Lego Builders Journey because I kept seeing pictures and videos on it from Twitter. Lego Builders Journey is not your standard Lego game. It basically is an isometric game where it's a puzzle game. So you have a preset little square in front of you, and the game looks amazing with ray tracing and all the graphics turn up. Like if you search this game on Twitter, you will see like little clips where it looks kind of like photorealism. Like there are scratches on the Lego pieces, like somebody was doing it. And the point is to get one character, this little Lego person, to the other side of the level, and you kind of have to pick up pieces and put them down in a certain order to get that person or the Lego character to the other ends. It's starting out very simple right now. I don't know if it gets more complicated. I just really wanted to see these Lego pieces come together. It's $20. It just came out on Steam. I think it's coming to consoles as well. But if you're looking for like a very chill experience, this is definitely it.
I'm gonna try that Phantom Abyss game too. It's that like roguelike game where the dungeon like only can be completed once. Once it gets completed once, it locks.
Yeah.
And then it regenerates a new dungeon, and then you're seeing like the ghosts of people, like there with you. Melis is the game's on Switch, by the Lego games on Switch.
Yeah, I thought it was on one of the consoles. I couldn't remember which one.
It looks cool, and there's like no like real like combat in it. It's just more like a platforming puzzle type of situation, with a lot of traps and stuff like that. It looks interesting. Yeah. Friend of the show, Hugh, bought it. And he's played a couple hours of it, Justin, and it's good so far.
Sounds like a Hugh game.
He texted me about it, and I was like, I want to hear what you think about it for the next few hours.
Absolutely love Hugh, 2 pieces.
Yeah.
That man loves every video game in the first 5 hours.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. One of the games he complains about the most, which is Fallout 76. When he first played it, he was like all about it. I want to go back to like wherever that's saved and show him those messages one day. So he's finished playing it. Alejandro said, "Yep."
Hugh plays so many games. It puts
it puts us to
shame.
It puts us to shame. It's insane how many games that Hugh plays. But anyway, I think that's gonna do it for our show this week. We are going to be back next week. I'm assuming with another game show because I don't think we have any like comic stuff to talk about yet. Like I said, we're gonna wait until Loki is done to sort of like do a whole big talk about it.
God, I have so many thoughts about that show.
I know, a lot of thoughts. It more than new Shang-Chi trailer dropped. I didn't watch it yet.
When did it drop?
Tonight. It dropped tonight, I think. As we're recording this. So much. I will say this about Loki really quickly. Like, I feel like it has the most like breakneck pace of any of the shows so far. So much happens in every episode. Like, whether it's big revelations or just little moments or whatever. Like, I feel like every episode has like a bunch of stuff, and it is truly the first one that I feel like was conceived of in a television show type manner. Because it feels like, okay, like we have episodes that are like self-contained, but also part of a bigger whole. And so we'll get into it when we go into it, but like enjoying it so far. About 15 minutes ago, Green says the trailer dropped.
Excellent.
So yeah, but I don't want to talk about trailers. There'll have to be some more than that to talk about if we do the comic book show. So we'll wait until we have Loki to talk about, or Black Widow is not that far away.
It's really not.
It's like a couple of weeks from now. So we'll have that to talk about as well. But until then, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you to everybody who's been watching or listening. Until next time, be good to one another. Later.